Hello everyone, welcome to the first video in a very long time, and one that I am hoping is going to be a fun one. Now, as you can probably see, I have a Mac Pro. This is actually one of the fastest original cheese graters ever made before the 2019 came out. And honestly, up until 2019, this was probably still the best Mac for pros. Now, this came out in 2012, as I said. This is the 12 core, so there are dual 6-core Intel Xeons in this thing. And this thing, I can't remember exactly how much it was, but oh man, it was a very pretty penny back in the day. So this is the last of what I would consider to be when Apple truly cared about the pros. It was just 1 year after that we got the trash can, which was kind of a joke. And then it took 6 years before they released the 2019 Mac Pro. And that, honestly, that's something that I'm actually really hoping to get my hands on at some point. They're coming down in price like crazy because, with the whole Apple Silicon transition, they've just gone way down in price. But yeah, we're going to take a look at this 2012 Mac Pro today. So the first thing that I want to do is just kind of show you around it. Now, this thing's actually in pretty decent condition. Now, I've had this thing for several months now. So I actually, a while back, I drove about an hour and a half from where I am to pick up 2 of these for $100. So I got this 12 core. I got a 2009. It was the quad core, so the base model. And I also got a Radeon 5770 graphics card separate from the 2 of them because you'll see what this guy has in it, but it does not have a 5770. So the 2009 was literally a base model 2009. It was nothing special. It did have the memory upgraded to 16 gigs, which was pretty cool. I actually took some memory out of this and put it in there and brought that down to 8 and put this up to 24 gigs, which is kind of cool. And then I sold that thing. I'm pretty sure I sold it for, I want to say like $75. So really, I paid like $25 for this thing after I sold the other Mac Pro, which was awesome. And as you see, whenever I crack this thing open, I got a pretty good deal. So I'll actually go ahead and crack this open, and then I'll show you around. So let me get the camera a little closer so we can see what's going on. All right, so now, as I'm sure you can tell, that is not a Mac graphics card that is inside of there. That is actually a XFX RX 580 inside of there. And this is actually a really nice card. It's got 8 gigs of memory, and it's very closely related to the, whatever it is, the not 580, the not RX 580, but I think it's the Radeon Pro 580 or whatever that's in the 2019 Mac Pro. These cards are actually very closely related. So this came inside the Mac from the seller that I got it from. That's just how it was. And you can also see there's nothing else in there at the moment. But that is something that I am thinking that I'd like to change because, yeah, I've got some big plans for this thing. So down here, we've got our CPU tray, we got some RAM, and this thing, I'll go ahead and pull it out. Actually completely pulls out. So this slides out. It's a whole tray, and you can see the 2 CPUs and the memory are just both chilling on this tray. And then this just slides right back in like that. Push these guys in, and the whole thing latches in. So there's that. And if we pan up, we've got the 4 hard drive bays. Now, this did not come with any drives from the seller, which It's totally understandable. That's actually a good thing to do. That did mean that I had to buy a hard drive for the 2009 I was talking about, so that ate into my profits on selling that a little bit or more the discount on this. I think I bought a 1 terabyte hard drive off a random guy on Marketplace for like $10, so it wasn't a big deal. But what was really cool is I had never knew this existed. This metal piece here, or aluminum, and you can see right there, the, if it'll focus, there you go, 512 gig. So this actually had a build to order option of a 500 gig SSD. You can see in there, there's the SSD I installed, but it literally just screwed right in there. The seller was even nice enough, you can see some leftover tape there to tape up the screws. So I actually was able to use this guy. So inside of here is a 1 terabyte PNY SSD. So that's pretty cool. And you can also see how it had like some little aluminum inserts just slid in there and then screwed in. So there's only 2 screws on here, which is very interesting. So it was nice of the seller to leave this adapter in there. Never knew this existed, but that was super cool. And then the seller also included some other 2.5 to 3.5 inch adapters, but they didn't screw in from the bottom, so they didn't work with this. So what I actually did, and I'll put a link in the description because these actually are really nice. These are 3D printed 2.5 to 3.5 inch drive adapters for the Mac Pro. So these work in the 2009 through 2012s. The 2007 and 8 actually is spaced out a little different. But yeah, so this is a 750 gig drive that actually came out of a 2012 MacBook Pro I have, which that might be something for a future video because it's actually a pretty special one. But yeah, so I actually originally had a 250 gig SSD in here, but I swapped it out for this and put the SSD in the MacBook Pro. So this actually has Windows 7 on it. So this guy's actually quadruple booted, which is kind of crazy. So the 1 terabyte SSD has Snow Leopard for some real old school stuff when I mess around with that, which is pretty much never, and it doesn't work properly with the RX 580 as you'd imagine. It's got High Sierra, which is nice because it is the newest OS with support for the RX 580. And it also happens to be the newest OS that runs older software, which is cool because I do use this thing to run some 32-bit Mac apps. I've got Adobe CS6 on here, and I've got a few other tools for messing around with some of my older iOS devices, like old versions of Red Snow and Jailbreak Utilities, old versions of iTunes, stuff like that. So that all runs in High Sierra, no problem, which is nice. And then I've also got Sequoia on there with Open Core Legacy Patcher, so this thing's pretty much fully up to date. And one future upgrade plan is I'd really like to actually migrate Sequoia from this to a PCIe NVMe SSD. That's one thing that I'm planning to upgrade this guy with. I think that'll be super awesome. And I don't think that I'm going to want to upgrade the GPU though, because as I mentioned, this is pretty much the best GPU you can run High Sierra with. Now, I could run Mojave instead. Mojave is the last version of macOS to support 32-bit apps, but there were a lot of changes that kind of made other things kind of incompatible. I don't know. I just feel like High Sierra is kind of the last older version of macOS. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover back on, which just lines up at the bottom, and then it's got this nice little latch here. Push that down, locks it into place. So we'll go around back so we can see we've got our power input from the power supply, and then down here we've got our I/O on our RX 580. So we got a DVI and HDMI and 3 display ports, which is great. And then coming down here, we can see the rest of our I/O. So we've got 3 USB 2 ports. One thing that I am going to be doing, maybe even in this video if it comes within a timely manner, is putting a USB 3 card in this thing. I actually did order one and put it in, but it just did not work. The description lied about it being compatible with macOS. Did just a little bit of research and realized that chipset is known to have problems on macOS. We've got 2 FireWire 800 ports, which is nice. Digital audio in and out. We've got audio in and out and dual gigabit Ethernets, which is super cool. And bring it around to the front. We've got our nice aluminum power button, headphones, 2 more USB 2 ports, and 2 FireWire 800 ports. And then up here, and also just that thing looks so nice. We've got 2 optical drive slots. This one is, there's nothing there. And this is a super drive, so it'll read and write CDs and DVDs. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get the camera pointed over at the monitor, and we're gonna go ahead and boot this thing up. All right, one highly professional camera angle later, and let's boot this guy up. So I think the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go into the boot picker, not the open core one, but just the standard one. So I'm going to hold down Option on my keyboard. There's the bong. And hopefully we will get our boot menu. This keyboard's a little weird, so sometimes I just gotta hit Alt a couple of times just to make sure that it registered. If you just hold it when it boots, this thing almost never does it. So here we go. Now this brings me on to another interesting point I want to make about this computer, and that is that those of you that know your Mac Pros are probably very confused right now, because this is a screen that you should not be able to see if you have a PC graphics card in your Mac Pro. And that's because this thing has something really cool. There is a firmware hack called Enable GOP installed on here. I'll put a link to it and the tutorial that I followed on how to do it. I take no risks in if you break your computer, because there's a genuinely real possibility you can. But this allows you to get a gray boot screen and the boot picker to show up with just about any PC graphics card in your Mac Pro, and that's pretty awesome. So basically, if your graphics card can show OpenCore's boot picker, it will work. I'm going to start oldest to newest. So let's boot into Snow Leopard to start. And it's genuinely insane how quickly it boots on this thing. There you go, we're in. Let me adjust the camera, I'm kind of cutting things off a little bit. But yeah, here is macOS Snow Leopard 10.6.8. And as you can see, there's some screen tearing, but it actually, just for running around the desktop, I mean, it's not the best, as you can clearly see, but it's actually not that bad. It is totally usable on this card, which is cool because I've booted Yosemite on this thing before with the 580 in there, and it runs awful without graphics acceleration, but this is pretty okay. So yeah, you can see there our 2 times 2.4 gigahertz 6-core Intel Xeon, and we've got 24 gigs of 1066 RAM. Really should be running 1333. I can never figure out why it doesn't. But yeah, there's all our information, audio stuff, Bluetooth, our dual gigabit Ethernet, the FireWire in the thing. We can see our graphics card, no hex loaded, ATI, 8 megabytes of video memory it shows up as. And we can see all of our memory sticks here. So we've got 4 4 gig sticks and 4 2 gig sticks for 24 gigs. And we've got our serial ATA devices. And this is another thing that is worth mentioning. These guys only have SATA 2, so that's SATA 3 gigabit a second, as you can see right there. So installing a NVMe SSD in this thing is very much going to be worth it, actually. But yeah, I actually don't have much in the way of software installed on here. I installed Virtual PC just because I wanted to mess around with if it would be possible to run this on an Intel system through Rosetta, and it does not work. I don't think that I actually have anything else on here. Just OpenMark and SuperDuper. So yeah, this Snow Leopard install is very clean. It's just kind of on here to be on here because this is by far the fastest computer that will run Snow Leopard, which is pretty awesome. So let's restart and move on to our next OS. All right, so now we are booting into macOS High Sierra, which, as you can see, also boots up pretty darn quick on this thing. There we go, straight to the desktop. Now, as you can see, this is actually kind of a hot mess because I've actually been using this thing a lot under High Sierra to run an application called, you can see there's actually quite a few apps installed here, and we'll take a look at them. But to run iFunbox, because I've been using this to flash applications to older iOS devices. I've got tons of IPAs on the desktop. It's kind of a hot mess. And I've also used it to back up IPAs. So, yeah. You can see I've got our enable GOP here, which, as I mentioned, is what I use to enable the RX 580 to actually work in the boot menu, which is cool. And yeah, so we've got High Sierra installed. Now, High Sierra is actually still relatively usable in the modern world. So I've got Firefox ESR here, which if we look at the version, oh, it's actually installing an update. I didn't know it was still getting any updates. But this is running 115.34 or 31. Let's see what that version changes to. I didn't know this was still getting any kind of updates. Yeah, 115.32. So when is this from? We can see right here. Yeah, so it's literally getting updates still. So yeah, you can still totally run Firefox on macOS High Sierra and everything's fine. As you can see, YouTube opens. I'm even signed in, which I did not realize on this thing. I'm surprised it still has a cache, but yeah, YouTube totally works. I was watching some IMNC earlier, which was kind of getting me in the mood to make a video about some old Macs. But as you can see, High Sierra works super fast on this thing. Our RX 588 gig is totally up and running. This is honestly like flies on High Sierra, which is awesome. So the latest OS that this thing will run officially actually is macOS Mojave with a metal graphics card, which this has. If you don't have a metal graphics card, then High Sierra is the latest that it will run in stock form. And honestly, it runs it fantastic. But I want to quit talking about how good it runs and look at some of the apps that we've got installed. So as I mentioned, we've got the Adobe CS6 suite installed. Some apps don't work on High Sierra, which is very annoying actually. But most of them do, and I bet we could get around the After Effects not opening. I actually was wanting to look into that because I wanted to play around with Premiere on here, but I think that that was one of the apps. Oh no, Premiere does run on here. But I've got the CS6 suite on here, which is like the last version of Creative Cloud you could actually own. And as you can see, it's all great. And I actually was wanting to mess around with this in some of my DV cameras, so maybe we'll do that. We've got Photoshop on here, which I've actually used a little bit. And as you can see, it's just super quick and speedy. And these are OSs that are apps that you can't run on modern OSs, so you have to run them on an older system. So there we go, we got Photoshop, and honestly, it looks pretty much the same as it does now. You're not missing out on a lot except the AI crap, and that is a good thing in my eyes. So there we go, got all the Adobe apps on here. I installed Final Cut Studio 2, which unfortunately none of the apps work. I need to do a little bit of investigating to see if you can get it to work. I was doing some research into that and didn't get too far into it. Is Final Cut doesn't even look like it installed. Oh no, there it is. Oh, I did, that's right. I did do some hacks to get it to work. Oh, why does it need a license? I thought it was in there. Oh well. But once again, these are 32-bit apps, so you need an older OS to be able to run them. I've got Halo installed on here, which if I remember correctly, ran pretty fantastic. So let's see here, 2 times, we'll do 4 times sampling, throw everything up to high, and yeah, see how this does. Video settings are all kinds of messed up. Why is it not letting me go into settings? Also, this is so loud. Oh, we're at 640 by 480. Yeah, that's what we want. Yep, get everything on a high. Okay. There we go. All right. So let's see how this runs. I can't remember if I played this at all on here or not. No, I haven't, but man.
Sorry for the quick thaw, Master Chief. Things are a little hectic right now. But this orientation should pass quickly. Welcome back, sir. We'll have you battle.
But yeah, as you'd expect, this runs
Chief, please look around the room.
Fantastic on here.
Reading for your battle suit's diagnostics. Good. Thank you, sir.
I'm bringing your health monitors online, sir.
Yeah, if this did not run fantastic, I would be very concerned. That this game runs on PowerPC, for crying out loud. But there we go. I've also got Microsoft Office on here. So we got Microsoft Word. Once again, this is a 32-bit app. You can't run this version of Office on newer versions of macOS. And this is actually a piece of software that I own. I used this on my MacBook Air back in the day. But yeah, there we go. So we got Microsoft Word 2011 all up on here and working. And surprisingly, this is also Intel only. They did not put out a PowerPC version of this, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But we got iPhoto on here. I've got Toast on here. Take advantage of that disk drive. VirtualBox. I think I actually did have a couple VMs on here that I was messing around with, if I remember correctly. Yep, I do. We have Windows XP on here. Transmission, download some torrents. Oh wow, I was going crazy. Don't look at that. Don't demonetize me. Not that I'm monetized, but you know, whatever. It's all ancient software anyway. Get out of here. Why are you not responding? Go away. Great. So yeah, that's macOS High Sierra. Oh, you can also see this, I think I cloned this drive over. This was the tools I used to update the firmware on my 4.1 2009 to a 5.1 before selling it, because that obviously increases the value a ton, because then all of a sudden you could go from running you can only run up to El Capitan on a 2009 normally, but just by flashing the firmware you can go all the way up to High Sierra with the stock card, or Mojave with a metal card. But of course, if you use OpenCore, it really doesn't matter. Speaking of OpenCore, I think it's time to reboot one more time. But yeah, as you can see, High Sierra runs super quick. You can also see the web browser that comes with High Sierra. Oh, actually, still kind of loads things. That's pretty impressive. I didn't expect the Apple website to load there. But yeah, super fast. Everything runs super quick on High Sierra. So let's reboot one more time. And we'll go on into... Oh, I got some weird graphical stuff. Nice. We'll go into Monterey. Or why did I say Monterey? Tahoe. All my macOS versions are going all up in my head. We'll boot into Sequoia. And this is what the system boots to by default. So we'll see our OpenCore boot picker, which, even though High Sierra and Snow Leopard are both here, it will actually not boot either one of these correctly because of how it's spoofing the machine IDs, which was kind of annoying. And originally, I was actually trying to figure out how I can boot into those OSs through OpenCore and not have to flash the firmware, but I ended up landing on flashing the firmware with that enabled GOP, and now I can just use the Mac as just get into the boot menu and do everything normally. So as you can see, not a slow boot, but it's nowhere near as fast as High Sierra and especially Snow Leopard. So I'll go ahead and log in. And you know, it does take a second, but it's really not that bad. Let me fix the camera a little bit. We're a little overexposed. There we go. That's better. So here we are. It's taking a little bit of time there. Oh, it's because Steam's opening. We'll get to that too. I actually was playing a couple games on this thing. Get out of here. Go away. I don't want you. Go. Get. All right. So here we are in macOS Sequoia right there, as you can see. And it's got the icon and everything. So we got our 24 gigs of RAM, our RX 580. Everything is all as you'd expect. We've got our crappy system settings. I miss the old school stuff. We can even see our memory layout, and it's got the memory upgrade instructions. It's all here, which is honestly kind of surprising. But honestly, this runs pretty good. I say that as that stutters like crazy. But genuinely, this runs really good. I've got DaVinci Resolve 20 installed on here. I'm going to try and edit this video on this computer in 4K. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's totally fine. So yeah, let me just pop open Chrome. And we're on a modern OS, so this is the latest version of Google Chrome. And everything's all there. And, you know, it's not blazing fast. It was definitely quicker in High Sierra. But this thing is ancient now, and it runs really good. Okay, it doesn't run as good as, doesn't run quite as good as High Sierra did. But, so there we go. That is macOS Sequoia on here. So I guess that's, I don't know if there's really anything I need to demo in here. I don't actually have a crazy amount installed. I mean, I got Steam, but I think I'm going to look at Steam over in Windows 7. So I'm going to restart this thing for the last time in this video, and we're going to take a look at Windows 7. All right, so we're here back at the boot picker. I'm going to go ahead and select Windows, and it's going to think about it for a second, and then we should get that lovely Windows 7 startup screen. Occasionally you get some weird graphical glitches when booting, but you know what? Who cares? It's just the boot up screen. And that's, I think, probably a glitch with enabled GOP if I had to guess. But yeah, that does happen sometimes, but it's always fine once the OS actually boots and the graphics drivers load, so it doesn't really matter. So as you can see, Windows 7's booting up, and this is running off of a hard drive, so you know, it's not as quick as the older versions of macOS, but it's still not bad. So we'll go ahead and log in to what is still my favorite version of Windows. And this thing, you know, I could have totally installed Windows 11 on this thing. It would run Windows 11 great. But I didn't want to. I wanted to install Windows 7. So here we are in Windows 7. And yeah, so I've got one of my favorite old school pieces of software installed on here, Virtual PC 2007. That was something that I really loved messing around with when I was younger. And we got Steam, which is probably going to do some updates. I've hit cancel the last time I booted this thing up because this thing is really slow whenever Steam is going. Also, if you open up Task Manager, it's kind of hilarious. That's what 24 threads looks like in the Windows 7 Task Manager, and when the window is in its more normal size, yeah, that's crazy. Like this is like the normal Windows 7 Task Manager. You can't see anything. It's wild. Once again, I don't actually have a whole lot installed. I've got Supermium, which is a really awesome modern version of Chrome ported to older versions of Windows. So this runs on XP even, and it's pretty much the latest Chromium code with the latest security updates packaged up to run on older OSs, which is super cool, and it takes forever to load whenever Steam is running. That's the annoying thing about not having the SSD anymore for Windows 7. Alrighty, so the Steam update finished, and now that that's done, the system is actually relatively speedy even from a hard drive, but Steam doing stuff, oh, apparently there were updates going on too, but Steam doing stuff just absolutely brought this thing to a crawl. But there we go, we've got Steam up and running. As you can see, Windows 7 is not supported anymore. As of 2 years ago, but yeah, so as you can see, Steam no longer supported, quote unquote, but actually still runs great on Windows 7 for the time being. So you can see everything here. I was actually playing some games on here, and it all works great. Yeah, even on Windows 7, a lot of games still work. Did I have Left 4 Dead? What did I install on here? Oh, I thought I had party animals on here. I guess not. Let's install party animals on here. Just we'll see how that goes. So it'll probably take a hot minute to download, but yeah, I'll give it a little bit of time. All right, so now it's actually the next day, and we're back. I'm trying to install a game, and it's actually working now. I couldn't get it to download yesterday, and I didn't really look into it. I just kind of called it a night, actually. But it's totally working now. It's actually transferring from my PC that's on, which I'm thinking is definitely helping the speed because I've only got a 100 megabit internet connection. It's actually downloading at 479 megabytes a second. And now all of a sudden it's not at all. And it's going back. But I think that's pretty impressive actually because this thing's running a hard drive for the Windows install. And let's see if Steam is taking advantage of multiple CPUs, and it is not. That's one thing that you'll notice a lot if you run a dual CPU system in the modern era. There's just not a lot of applications that really take advantage of having more than one CPU. Alright, it is done. I don't know why this is the game that I decided to choose, but you know, me and my friends have been playing it quite a bit recently, so let's give it a go. Alright. I have no idea if this game will run on Windows 7 or not, but I guess we'll find out. It's not a super complicated game, so I think this system would run it fine. I don't care. I don't need a controller for this game. Oh yeah, I can see. I can see the little cat down in the taskbar. Oh. Hey, there we go. I don't have any sound though. Oh, we're muted. There we go. Okay. Oh,
Welcome to the research facility.
Runs fantastic.
All your behavioral data will be videotaped for further research. Please follow the instructions throughout the process.
What are we running at right now?
Just so you know, during the experiment, if you get your head squashed by the door,
Running medium?
the insurance company just can't care less about it. Now, little pup, let's test your observation ability.
This runs great. Alright. Well, there's some really weird graphical stuff going on. But I'm blaming that on Windows 7 more than anything. Inside the cabin here, though, totally fine. The performance is actually really good. I hate motion blur, though. That's got to go away. That's better. But yeah, there's some weird graphical stuff going on. But performance is good, and like I say, I think that is all Windows 7. If you installed Windows 10 or 11, games would work fine. Although that's a simple game and it had some problems, but older games is really where it's at. Like if I booted up Fallout 4 or if I booted up Left 4 Dead, I just don't feel like downloading them. These would run fantastic and be totally fine. Something simple like Ultimate Chicken Horse also probably would be totally fine. But yeah, I'm gonna reboot back into Mac OS, and I want to run a couple of things and compare between some other systems. All right, so I've got two more things I want to do in this video, and that is take a look at some Cinemage numbers between this 2012 Mac Pro, my Ryzen 7 7700X PC, and my M1 Pro laptop, just to see how things stack up. So as you can see here, the M1, or the, what am I talking about, M1? The Mac Pro with its pair of Intel Xeon E5645s scored 405 points. And over here, the Ryzen system scored, actually, I did a GPU test and it cleared it out, but down here, 1124, so well over double the performance on a modern high-end desktop, but you'd kind of expect that. But now it's kind of crazy here, so if we come over here and look at my laptop, 587 or 97. And you know what? That's not very far off from here. What's even crazier, if we look down here, and we are going to reinstall these CPUs in this system, but this is the X5680, which not even the fastest you can put in here. You can put a 5690 in there, but they're kind of expensive. 516. That is really close to a M1 Pro and better than a standard M1. Now, I actually don't have those CPUs in here anymore because they actually ended up being defective and I got my money back for them. But I've actually got two new ones on order, and we're gonna check out those. We're gonna do a huge upgrade special on this computer in the not too near future at all. We're gonna put in those CPUs. We're going to put in an NVMe SSD, and we're going to put in a USB 3 card. And I really wanted to do a graphics test on the RX 580 to see how it compares to the M1 integrated graphics as well as my RX 7800 XT. But unfortunately, it does not want to run it on here, which is annoying. It says it doesn't meet the requirements, which I find wild. But just for comparison, my 7800 XT scored 11,608 and my M1 Pro scored 2185. So almost about 5 times faster the dedicated graphics card in my PC compared to the M1 Pro's integrated graphics in my MacBook. But you know what? That's still pretty impressive. The M1 Pro is now an almost 5-year-old chip. Might be a 5-year-old chip now, I don't even know. And it still did really well. So I'm pretty happy with that. So the last thing that I want to do, sure, why not, is I might try and edit on this thing. So I've got DaVinci Resolve installed on here. I think this is 20. It's either, maybe it's 19, but I think that it's 20. We'll see when it opens up. It's 19, but you know, that's fine. I might try and install 20 just to see if it works all good, but we'll see how it does. Alrighty, so we'll make a new project. Alright, so I've actually got the files here on my file server, so I guess the first thing we should do is just open one in QuickTime and see how it plays. Now this is over a gigabit Ethernet connection on my file server, so it should be pretty quick, and yep, it scrubs great. I can't remember exactly how much wrote, so now as I'm sure you can tell, that is playing fine, and just so y'all can see, it's a 3840 by 2160, 60 megabit a second H.264 file. So let's just throw all these on into here. Alright. Go over into the edit. Wire. You didn't go on the timeline. There we go. So we got it in the timeline. A little bit of each ball, but let's see how it describes. That's running totally fine. You can see it's running 2997. Now, once you put a bunch of effects and stuff on, things may change. But while that's playing, let's go into utilities, activity monitor. We can see a little bit of drop frames whenever I was doing things. But if we go to CPU, let's go GPU history, see how it's doing. So not a ton of utilization on the GPU. What about CPU history? Now, unfortunately, Resolve is not using all of our CPUs. And let's pop open Chrome and see if macOS is going to do a proper task scheduling. Yeah, okay, so macOS, even though there are no systems that actually support dual CPUs officially, I might take that back because it's that one spike got me kind of happy thinking that it was actually going to allocate Chrome to the second CPU, but it didn't. But either way, you can see totally fine. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so I just want to give a little conclusion. I edited this entire video in 4K on the Mac Pro. I didn't have a single issue, genuinely. It was perfect. Now, granted, this, as you saw, wasn't a very complicated project, but I had text and some transitions here and there. And I mean, I had a couple photos over the top, but it genuinely did not skip a beat at all. I can zoom out, I can scrub around, I can play. It just worked totally fine. Even the animated text plays fine inside of there. And this is actually a really nice card. It's got 8 gigs of memory, and it's very closely related to the CPU and GPU history, just so you can see how that is. Not RX 580, but I think it's the Radeon Pro 580 or whatever that's in the 2019 Mac Pro. And these cards are actually very closely related. Yeah. It's totally fine. So yeah, this whole video was indeed edited on the Mac Pro, connected to a 4K screen, 4K footage. Worked great. So yeah, I mean, this Mac has impressed me a ton, and I can't wait to do more content on it and upgrade it further. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching them. Jeez, like this video, 47 minutes of me rambling on about a Mac, and this video really had no purpose to it whatsoever, no plan. I just turned on a camera, started rambling about this Mac Pro. The only issue that I did have, because I just remembered that I got to import this footage, is remember most of this footage, all the way up to clip 9, I actually imported on my main system, on my Ryzen system, which is actually chilling right there right now and not being used because I've got the Mac Pro up. But yeah, I used it to import the footage, so I had USB 3. But then I had this one clip, which was a 4-minute clip, took a little over 4 minutes to import. I had over an hour of footage, okay? I would have had to wait well over an hour for all that to import. And on my main system with USB 3, it took like less than 10 minutes. So yeah, I can't wait to get that USB 3 card because the USB 2 is what makes this thing pretty much unusable from a video production standpoint right now. But yeah, once I get that USB 3 in there, and those upgraded CPUs give a little more headroom, this thing will be honestly probably taking over as my main non-gaming system, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna get this thing exported and we'll see how long that takes. I'll put it in the description, but like I said, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. May or may not be this system. May have a video out even sooner. But yeah, we're gonna upgrade this thing at one way or another at some point. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.